It was the 7th day of my hospital stay for a broken bone. I was playing cards with the other patients when Ethan Carter called. "Where are you?" "On a business trip." "I've told you this a dozen times," I said, counting my cards distractedly. Then the voice on the other end said, "Julian, look up." I froze for a second, then lifted my head. Ethan stood in the doorway of the ward, his face thunderous. He walked over to my bed. "Why didn't you tell me you broke your bone? Why didn't you have the surgery at my hospital? Why lie about being on a business trip?" Listening to the city's top orthopedic surgeon grumble at me like a scorned husband, I curled my lip in helpless amusement. Dr. Carter's a busy man. After all, he'd told me more than once that he was swamped, that I shouldn't come to him with every little thing, that I shouldn't cling to him so much. "It's nothing serious. I handled it on my own. No need to bother you." The other patients scattered at once. A playing card drifted to the floor. He picked it up and set it on the bed, his face expressionless. "Julian, you're still mad." Impatience settled between his brows, the kind that comes from being tired of explaining. "I didn't mean to stand you up that day. How long are you going to hold this against me?" 7 days earlier had been our 2-year anniversary. I'd made the reservation 2 weeks in advance. We'd barely sat down, hadn't even opened the menus, when he took a call and hurried out, leaving only one line. "A patient needs me." I sat there stunned under the waiter's gaze for a long moment, then told him to cancel the order and keep the deposit. Not long after, I scrolled past photos of Seth Morgan at an event on the trending topics. In the corner of one shot, an arm in a rolled-up dress shirt was visible and the watch on its wrist was the one I'd picked out for him that very morning. I stared at the photo, missed a step, and fell down the stairs of a pedestrian overpass. Ambulance, surgery, admission paperwork. By the time everything was done, it was 11 o'clock at night. Ethan called. "I'm home." "Where are you?" I propped up my injured leg, staring at a chipped black spot on the bed rail. "You went to see Seth today, didn't you?" He paused. "Seth twisted his back at the event. His old injury flared up. I had to go. Last time, Seth said he'd thrown his back out after being startled by a bug, and Ethan had rushed over straight from surgery. The time before that, we'd just sat down for a movie when he got a text from Seth complaining about back pain from standing too long at an event. He'd left with a quick 'I'll make it up to you next time.' Every single time, it was 'I have to.' We were both men, but the first time I met him, I knew we were the same kind of person. The way he looked at Ethan, only Ethan couldn't tell there was something off about it. I closed my eyes and breathed in, saying nothing for a long time. When I didn't answer, Ethan gave in, or sounded like it, over the phone. "All right. Stop being difficult. I'll take time off to make it up to you." "Okay, where are you right now? I'll come pick you up." I couldn't see his face, but I pictured it perfectly. Brows furrowed, tired and annoyed. I laughed bitterly. "I begged you for 2 weeks just to get you to take 1 day off for me. How long will I have to beg next time?" Ethan's voice turned cold. "Julian." I cut him off, lying without a flicker of hesitation. "Something came up last minute. I'm on a business trip. You don't need to take time off for me anymore." And for the first time, I hung up on him. Now, in the present, Ethan stared at me. "If my college classmate hadn't spotted you here by chance, were you going to keep this from me forever?" "Julian, can you please be more mature? Stop making things difficult for me." I went rigid when I had nightmares and couldn't sleep and asked him to stay with me. He called me a hassle. On my birthday, when I wanted a cake he baked himself, he said I was asking for too much, that I was being difficult. When I had a fever and wanted him there, he said he was an orthopedic surgeon, not an internist, that his being there wouldn't fix anything, and I should stop making trouble for him. After that, I learned to take melatonin when I couldn't sleep. I made anniversary reservations by myself. I went to the hospital alone when I was sick. I even scheduled my own surgery and hospital stay, all by myself, all in order. And still, he said I was making trouble for him. Last month, Seth called him in the middle of the night saying his stomach hurt. Ethan had only rubbed the space between his brows, sat up, and pulled on his clothes to leave. I blocked the door. "You're an orthopedic surgeon. What good are you for a stomachache?" Ethan said. "He's not like you. He's in that much pain. He can't get to the hospital on his own. I'm driving him." "What do you mean? He's not like me." When I come to you, I'm a hassle. When he comes to you, it's only natural. Ethan gave me a strange look. His parents had him late in life. He's been spoiled rotten, raised like a spoiled rich kid. He really isn't good at handling this kind of thing. Julian, do you really have to argue about this right now? I stared, stunned. Just then, his phone rang again. Seth's voice came through, high and plaintive. Ethan, where are you? It hurts so bad. I'm almost there. With that, he pushed past me and walked out the door. I stumbled back into the shoe rack, doubling over at the sharp pain shooting through my ankle. The memory made me smile, hollow and faint. Bad timing. Dr. Carter, I'm being discharged today. Would it be too much of a hassle to give me a ride home? His mouth tightened. He opened his mouth to say something, then thought better of it. I slid into the passenger seat and felt something digging into my side. I reached down and pulled out a crumpled necktie. Ethan froze, then said quickly, last time I drove Seth to his interview. I tossed it onto the dashboard, cutting him off. Then you can give it back to him later. Ethan went still. I stared out the window and said nothing else. The car ride was silent all the way home. Once we were inside, he said abruptly, come to my hospital for your follow-up in a couple days. I'll check you out myself. I hopped inside on my crutch. No, thanks. The hospital I went to is fine. He grabbed my arm, his brows drawn tight. He stared at me for a moment, then said, I'll take the day off. Happy now? I blinked in confusion. What for? His face was cold, but there was a thread of suppressed irritation in his voice. Isn't this what you wanted? You haven't said a word this whole ride. You just want me to apologize and spend time with you, right? Fine, I'll take the day off. I'll make it up to you. There, is that enough? The anger that had been building in my chest since the moment I saw him swelled until I could barely breathe. I wrenched my arm away. I drew in a long breath, then let it out slowly. Ethan, maybe we should break up. I never finished the sentence. A phone ring cut me off. Ethan ended the call and turned to me. Emergency surgery. We'll talk when I get back. Ethan did take the day off. In the end, the next morning, he was in the kitchen making homemade chicken noodle soup. Morning light fell across his back, shifting softly as he stirred the pot. Something in my chest softened. Just a little. Then the doorbell rang. Ethan set down the spoon and went to answer it. Seth slipped on a second pair of slippers Ethan kept by the door like he owned the place. I heard Julian was hurt. I came to visit. Before I could say a word, he sniffed the air. That smells so good. I haven't had Ethan's soup in forever. Is there enough for me? Ethan ladled out 3 bowls. Go sit down and wait. I paused. After Seth sat down, I hobbled over to the table on my crutch. When I saw the cilantro floating on top of my soup, I frowned slightly. Seth laughed, bright and pleased. Ethan, you still remember cilantro's my favorite. I froze mid-pull on my chair, staring at the bright green flecks covering the surface of the soup. I suddenly felt sick to my stomach. I turned and headed for the bathroom. I'm not hungry. You two eat. Ethan glanced up at me, said nothing, and handed Seth the vinegar bottle. I looked away and shut the bathroom door behind me, turning around. My crutch caught on the shelf unit. With a loud clatter, the shelf came down and I fell with it. Ethan burst in and helped me up. He stared at the bright red scrape across my knee, and went abruptly silent. Julian, if you didn't want Seth to stay for dinner, you could have just said so. You don't have to hurt yourself to make a point. I stared at him, stunned. A few months prior, on a rainy night, I'd gone to the hospital with stomach pain to find him. I'd barely sat down when Seth's assistant walked in. Dr. Carter. Seth's back is killing him. He's asking when you can come. Ethan glanced at me and stood up at once. I grabbed his arm. Ethan, can't you hear me? My stomach hurts. He went still for a beat, looked at me like he was sizing me up, and said quietly, are you faking this? I blinked. What? Are you actually sick? Or do you just not want me to go see Seth? Even if you don't like him, he's still my patient. Ethan brushed my hand away. Julian, don't be childish. The door opened and closed. I sat there in the chair, clutching my stomach and pressing my other hand to my eyes. The pain was so bad I could barely breathe. Later that night, I went to a different hospital. The doctor said it was acute appendicitis. Lying on the operating table, I was suddenly overcome with exhaustion, like I wanted to let go of everything. Now, that same feeling washed over me again. I said, "Forget it. Let's just break." There was another knock at the door. It was Holden Reed, a friend I'd made at the hospital. He held up a game console tucked in his arm. Grinning, "We made a deal last time. Came over to play games with you." I paused, then let my shoulders drop and smiled. I followed him into the bedroom. The next afternoon, Ethan said he'd take me to my follow-up appointment. I said sure without thinking much of it. The ride was silent again, heavier with unspoken tension than the last one. The car pulled up in front of his hospital. I frowned. "You took me to the wrong place." "No, I didn't." He grabbed my crutch with one hand and helped me out of the car with the other. "We'll get another X-ray. I want to see it myself." I followed him in silence as he filled out paperwork, gathered the forms, and walked me to radiology. When I came out, Ethan was gone. The nurse said, "Dr. Carter got a call a minute ago and rushed out. He said he'll be back to pick you up soon." The sky darkened without warning, and soon it was pouring rain. I thought about it for a second, then texted him, "Bad weather to drive in. Just go home when you're done. I'll take a cab." He didn't reply. I took a cab home alone. I wiped the rain moisture off my fingertips and pressed my thumb to the lock. Click. The door swung open. Seth was standing in the living room wearing Ethan's dress shirt. RT. A towel draped over his head. His cheeks were flushed pink from the steam of a hot shower. Ethan was holding out a hairdryer to him. Both of them turned around at the same time. My grip on the crutch tightened until my knuckles whitened. My mind went completely blank. Ethan froze. A flash of panic crossed his face, and he took a step toward me. I stumbled back so fast I nearly fell. He froze, not daring to move closer. Seth was being chased by anti-fans. His place is surrounded. He had nowhere else to go. So I brought him here. He got caught in the rain. Nothing happened between us. Seth stepped out from behind the sofa like he was frightened, his bare legs visible below the hem of the oversized shirt. Ethan was just looking out for me. "Julian, please don't get the wrong idea." I could feel myself shaking uncontrollably. I couldn't stop it. I turned and walked out. Ethan ran after me and grabbed my arm. "Julian, we really didn't." "Ethan, enough." I pushed him away, my voice shaking. We're done." The words finally came out. He stared, stunned. "Julian, you're not thinking straight." He lifted me up without another word, carried me back inside, and set me down on the couch. His voice tight and urgent. "I'm sending Seth home right now. Wait here for me. We need to talk about this properly." I didn't have the energy to follow their exchange or watch them leave. All I knew was that the apartment went quiet. I called Holden. "Last time you said you were renting out your guest room. Is it still available?" He laughed on the other end. "More than welcome. I've got to go to moving company on speed dial. 2. You want their number?" Half an hour later, I was in the back of a moving truck, through the sound of pouring rain. I drove away from a place that had stopped letting any light in. I slept straight through until noon. When I woke up to sunlight flooding the room, I felt disoriented for a second. The room was a mess. Boxes and belongings scattered everywhere. I rubbed my temples like I was coming off a hangover and reached for my phone, which I'd silenced and tossed on the nightstand the night before. I pressed the power button a few times, but the screen stayed black. It was dead. I found a charger and plugged it in. The second the phone turned on, a flood of missed calls and unread messages poured in, almost crashing the device. I was about to delete them all at once when the phone rang again. I stared at the name on the screen for a few seconds, then answered. There was a beat of silence on the other end, then a surprised voice. "Julian." Then, right after, "Where are you?" "Seth was soaked through yesterday. I was going to drop him off and come pick you up." Nothing happened between us. I swear. I sat down on the bed. "Whatever," I said. "What?" "I don't care what happens between you two. We're done." I paused for half a second, then added, "That's all." After that, I blocked his number and every other way he had to reach me. Holden knocked on the door, yawning. "Last time you said you'd write a script for my theater. How about I cover your rent in exchange?" I blinked, then laughed. "Deal." Back at the hospital, a few actors from his theater had come to visit him. I'd felt an instant, strange kind of chemistry with them. and mentioned wanting to collaborate on a play. The theater didn't look like it had much funding. Holden had started it all on his own. But something in my gut told me I belonged with these people. We talked about the script until midnight. Then passed out right there amid the chaos. The next day, I stumbled out half asleep to take out the trash. I got the door halfway open, froze, thought I was seeing a ghost, and tried to slam it shut immediately. Ethan caught it with one hand. Fast. There were dark circles under his bloodshot eyes. His usually crisp dress shirt was crumpled, unkempt. Julian. His voice sounded like a ghost's, too rough and hollow. What do you want? He looked like he was staring at a problem he couldn't solve. I need to explain. That day. Stop repeating yourself. I'm not deaf. I cut him off. Nothing happened this time. What about next time? Nothing happened now. What about later? He's like a little brother to me. We would never. Never say never. A brother. Are you even related? My voice rose. Why do you think you're standing here saying all this? Just to convince me, to make me buy your excuse, buy your logic. It's because you know it's wrong, even you. With your head stuck in your work all the time. No, that scene looked bad. You know it crossed a line, so why did you do it? I paused, my voice dropping. Ethan. You just don't care how I feel. You think everything's fine as long as it follows your logic. You don't care what anyone else thinks, including me. He went still. Ethan, I don't know why you're here. If you just came to explain what happened that day. I heard you. I understand. I believe you. Now it's my turn. We're done. Don't come looking for me again. I'm not joking. I'm serious. Treat this like a diagnosis in one of your patient files. Final. Official. Ethan stood there, his mouth opening and closing several times. But no words came out. I gripped the doorknob. Goodbye, Ethan. I shut the door. Ethan lived by his own set of rules, his own formula for how the world worked. Now that he had a clear, final answer that we were broken up, he should plug it into his formula and move on, act like I'd never existed in his life. He'd never show up again. We'd be strangers if we ever crossed paths. But the next day, he was back. Why are you here again? It felt absurd. He didn't seem to register my disgust. He said earnestly, I won't let Seth into the apartment anymore. If he comes over, I'll make him wait outside. I won't let him in, and I won't drive him home anymore. I couldn't help but laugh. Ethan, you're like a student who copied the right answer but has no idea how to get there. You memorized the right thing to do, but you don't understand why it's right. So you'll mess up again next time. Change the problem a little, and you'll be lost. His brows furrowed in confusion. When it comes to relationships, I shook my head. You're really failing. I thought back to when we first met. My friend Liam had broken a bone and gone to the hospital. Ethan had been his doctor. The first time I saw him, I thought he was handsome but cold. Then once, I found him crouched by the fire exit, holding a tube of cat treat, feeding a scrawny orange tabby. When the cat finished, it turned on him and scratched his hand hard enough to draw blood. Ethan looked down at the back of his hand, staring blankly for 2 seconds. The cat must have known it messed up. It meowed and shrank back. He sighed, his face still impassive, pulled another treat out of his pocket, and held it out. His movements and tone never shifted, stayed that same almost formulaic calm as he stroked its back gently. I stood around the corner watching him for a long time. When he finally noticed me and turned around, I smiled and asked, Dr. Carter, do you like men? After that, I started pursuing him, tried asking him out, and got turned down every single time. I figured that was that. He liked men, sure, but he clearly didn't like me. So after Liam was discharged, I never went back to the hospital. 2 weeks later, one evening, I walked out of my office building and saw Ethan standing downstairs. I walked over quickly. Dr. Carter, what are you doing here? He asked. Why haven't you come back to the hospital? I blinked. You didn't want to see me, so I stopped going. He frowned. Who said I didn't want to see you? Ethan, are you kidding? I really thought he was messing with me. So I said, half on impulse, then be my boyfriend, and I'll start coming around again. I expected him to call me ridiculous. Instead, he said, okay. I froze for at least 5 seconds. Do you even know what boyfriend means? He didn't answer. He just pulled me into the passenger seat, buckled my seatbelt, asked where I lived, and drove me home. Once we started dating, though, nothing really changed about him. I figured that was just who he was until Seth moved back from out of town. That's when I learned he was capable of making exceptions. I just wasn't one of them. Ethan started showing up every single day. He always reeked of disinfectant, like he'd just stepped out of the ore. Once, when I was taking out takeout containers, he called out to stop me. "Takeout's not good for you. You're recovering from a broken bone. You need." It was so out of nowhere. I snapped, annoyed. "Mind your own business." He went quiet, stunned. But the next day, his car was still parked downstairs. "The hospital said you didn't go to your follow-up this week. What's it to you? You're not my doctor. You're not my boyfriend." Ethan, learn some boundaries. I walked around him. He followed after me. I'm learning how to be with someone, how to be in a relationship, how to tell where the boundaries are. Seth and I grew up together. Our families are lifelong family friends. Everyone's always coddled him. So I did the same. I know now that was wrong. Anne, his voice dropped a little. "I found out you really were sick that night. You had your appendix out. I saw your medical records." I bit my lower lip and turned to glare at him. "Are you faking this?" I repeated his words from that night, in his exact tone. "What were you thinking when you said that?" His face went pale, flooded with guilt and regret. "Seth told me you were doing it for attention. That a lot of people do that. I thought that's what you were doing too." You believe everything Seth says." I laughed, sharp and bitter. "Have you been drinking pick-me juice your whole life?" His mouth moved, but no sound came out. "Fine, you don't get boundaries. I'll teach you. Rule number 1, when someone hates you and doesn't want to see you, don't show up on their doorstep. That's a boundary." I pointed to the space between us. "Stay away from me." All the color drained from his face. "But I want to see you." I looked down and smiled a little. I remembered a long time ago, him standing by the car door, the evening wind tangling his hair, saying okay to me. I couldn't help but say, "Ethan, how did I ever like you? You should get your head checked. How do you never learn anything?" I kept walking, never slowing down, for several days straight. The theater front desk received flowers, fruit, and bubble tea. The delivery notes only said, "From a gentleman, for everyone." The card with the flowers had one cheesy line of lyrics: "All the beauty in the world can't match how lovely you are." It was so cringy I pressed my pen to my forehead, wincing. One night I saw Ethan's car parked across the street, so I walked over. He was asleep, his head resting on the steering wheel. I kicked the door with my foot. He jolted awake, his eyes bleary then sharpening when he saw me. "You finished rehearsal. Go home and sleep. Don't crash from driving tired and make us feel bad." He rubbed his face wearily. 2 emergencies, 1 elective, back-to-back shifts for 2 days straight. "I just really wanted to see you." He noticed the flowers in my arms. "Do you like the flowers?" His voice was tentative, almost hopeful. I asked, "Who told you to do this?" "What? Sending flowers, bubble tea. You never used to have the sense for that." Dr. Lewis. He avoided my eyes, admitting it reluctantly. "The one in my department. Been married 5 years." Narrow eyes. "You met him before." I didn't know whether to be annoyed or amused. These moves are so cheesy, and our actors are all on diets, watching their sugar. They don't drink bubble tea. And me, I don't like flowers. With that, I dropped the flowers on the ground. He stared, stunned. After that, no more random deliveries showed up at the theater. I thought he'd finally given up. I breathed a sigh of relief. Better if we never saw each other again. But life had other plans. A week later, I walked into my building lobby and saw a notice taped to the elevator doors. "Out of service for repairs." I sighed, resting my weight on my crutch, already dreading the stairs. Then I heard that familiar, annoying voice. "Julian." Ethan walked over carrying a box. He glanced at the notice. "Set the box down. I'll carry you up." "No, thanks. It'll take 4 hours to fix. You gonna wait around that long? Your leg's not ready for stairs." I said nothing. He stepped right in front of me and squatted down. Back to me. "Get on." "Fine." Pride could wait. I climbed onto his back. "What's in the box?" I asked. "Books on playwriting, recommended by a professional." Took me forever to track all of them down. He carried me all the way up to the 12th floor. I slid off his back. Thanks for the help today. I can pay you for this. He looked faintly shocked. I don't want your money. Julian, we don't have to keep everything so separate. I scoffed. Oh, really? I thought Dr. Carter wanted me to do everything on my own. Called me a hassle, thought you wanted to keep your distance. His face paled. I know I was wrong. I didn't get it back then. I won't be like that anymore. I held up a hand to stop him. That's between you and your next boyfriend. If anyone else is ever dumb enough to date you. Oh. And don't bring those books up. I don't need them, but. I shut the door before he could finish. The theater's main investor pulled out suddenly. Holden said the money in the accounts wouldn't last through next month. He said the theater would probably have to shut down. Everyone was in low spirits. Holden said everyone was too miserable. So he took us all out to dinner and he ended up crying harder than anyone. I tried to comfort him, but he stumbled and fell into me, knocking me to the floor. A dull, sharp pain shot straight up my leg bone. In the chaos, one of the actors, Jasper Cole, helped me up. I haven't been drinking. Let me take you to the hospital. It was midnight by the time we got to the hospital. Ethan showed up out of nowhere, disheveled and harried, his eyes locking immediately on my cast. What happened? Did you hit it? Does it hurt? The doctor on duty coughed awkwardly. Dr. Carter. The doctor gave a nervous smile. We just finished the X-ray. Results aren't back yet. I'll go get them. Ethan paused for a second, then turned and walked out again. The doctor glanced at me and scratched the back of his neck. Dr. Carter asks about you every few days. Everyone in the department knows who you are. Someone must have told him you were in the ER. Just then, Jasper took my hand, his face full of concern. Your hand scraped, too. A patch of skin was scraped raw on the heel of my palm. I hadn't even noticed. The pain in my leg had been so bad. It's fine. I'll wash it later. Don't say that. Even small cuts hurt. Can't you feel it? He asked the doctor. Can you take care of this for him? I blinked, surprised. The doctor blinked too, then nodded toward the door. There's iodine at the nurse's station. Ethan was standing in the doorway holding the X-rays. No telling how long he'd been there. The on-duty doctor looked at him, then at me and Jasper, and cleared his throat awkwardly. Ethan handed over the films. It's nothing, no damage to the bone, but be careful, don't fall again. He walked out, then came back a minute later with iodine and a pack of cotton swabs. I leaned away from him. Cold. No. Thanks. A cut like this doesn't need an orthopedic surgeon. Don't want to be a hassle. Panic flickered in Ethan's eyes. It's not a hassle. But you showing up out of nowhere is a hassle for me. Ethan, can you please stop popping up and making things difficult? Ethan froze. I took Jasper's hand and left. A few days later, Holden came to see me, looking odd. Someone wants to invest in the theater. A lot of money. Enough for a national tour. Enough to keep us going for years. He gave a tight, awkward smile. It's Ethan. I stared, stunned. Didn't think he had that kind of money. His family's loaded. But he didn't want to take over the family business. Cut ties with them in college. No idea where he got the money. Holden cleared his throat. Wanna get dinner tonight? He said he wants to talk about the script. I sighed, my head already hurting. Fine. Ethan kept piling food onto my plate, picking bones out of my fish, pouring me soup. I swatted his hand away, annoyed. Enough. My hands aren't broken. I don't need you to wait on me. He paused. I wanted to. I don't want you to. His hand hung in the air for a second. Then he pulled it back. I hated seeing him look so kicked. I asked, where'd you get all that money? Don't worry about it. Just put on your show. I saw the read-through. This script feels a lot like a draft you wrote 2 years ago. It must mean a lot to you. He said it so earnestly. That's why I want it to get staged. I looked down. I'm not gonna thank you for this. I know. Why? The theater crisis solved. Everything went back to normal. Rehearsals every day, group dinners, breaks, then more rehearsals. On the day I got the cast off, Jasper went with me. When we got to the hospital entrance, Ethan was standing there. Ethan, did I or did I not tell you investing doesn't mean you get to bother me? He looked stricken. That's not why I'm here. Then why do you keep showing up everywhere I go? I tilted my head. You just won't quit, will you? Jasper said. You two talk. I'll go check in. Ethan pressed his lips together. Is he seeing you? Pursuing you? I didn't answer. He asked again. Is that crossing a boundary? If it is. I'm sorry, but I'm really scared. The thought of you being with someone else, it hurts. That's why I care so much. I looked at him like he was a stalker. That has nothing to do with me. That's your problem. Deal with it on your own. Leave me alone. His face went paler and paler. Just then Jasper came back and put a hand on my arm. Easy and natural, I said. Let's go. This place is cursed. Jasper laughed. As we rounded the corner, I glanced back. Almost against my will, Ethan was still standing there, his shadow long and thin on the ground. I'd left him behind a long time ago, hadn't I? And he'd just been standing there, watching me walk away ever since. Opening night went perfectly. The third show was sold out. After that, people started asking for extra shows. Word spread. One night, Seth showed up out of nowhere, saying he wanted to interview the cast and crew. Holden glanced at the scene by the door and muttered in my ear, "He's here for trouble. Does he even realize how obvious he is?" I sighed and walked over. We don't do walk-in interviews. If you want an interview, go through the press and marketing department first. Seth smiled. Sweet as sugar. It's just a quick interview. Won't take more than a few minutes. Our cast is busy. They go on soon. Seth drew out his words, mocking. Wow, someone's got an attitude. You haven't even made it big yet, and you're already turning down interviews. My face hardened. Seth turned to his cameraman. It's fine. Just roll. Grab some brawl. The cameraman lifted the camera. I stepped right in front of the lens. Turn it off. Seth shoved my shoulder. That camera's expensive. You think you can afford to break it? My leg was still unsteady. The shove sent me stumbling backward, off balance. Then two hands caught me from behind. Ethan stepped in front of me, shielding me. Seth froze for a second, then pasted on a bright smile. Ethan, you're here too. I came to interview Julian. Ethan cut him off. I heard him. Julian said no. That means no. Seth's smile froze. Ethan, I'm just doing my job. We're not related. Don't call me that. There was a beat of dead silence. Seth's face shifted through a dozen expressions. A flash of resentment crossing his eyes. And don't come back here. This is a theater, not your living room. Ethan, why are you being so cold to me now? Seth couldn't keep up the act anymore. He glared over at me, bitter and angry. Ethan frowned. What are you talking about? We were never that close. Keep making a scene, and security will escort you out. Seth ground his teeth, spun on his heel, and stormed out. Ethan turned to me. Are you hurt? I pushed him away. No, I bought a ticket for the show. I didn't just show up out of nowhere. Whatever. He stared at me for a long moment, then said suddenly, I'm sorry. I used to listen to everyone but you. Not anymore. From now on, I only listen to you. I only believe you. I squinted. What is this? Who told you to say that this time? He hesitated. Quinn, one of Ethan's childhood friends. Famous for dating around and never sticking around. You're taking advice from the worst people. Ethan clearly didn't get the joke. I rolled my eyes internally. What else did he teach you? Your boyfriend is always right. He recited like he was memorizing a textbook. Your boyfriend's needs come first. When your boyfriend says he's hurt or sick, he's being affectionate. He does it because he likes you. Enough. I pressed a hand to my forehead. He kept going. Like he hadn't heard me. I used to think you should handle small cuts and sicknesses on your own. That's what adults do. But when you stopped needing me, it hurt. I want you to need me. I want you to be soft with me. I opened my mouth. After a long second, I said, that's not gonna happen. Ethan, find someone else. With that, I hurried away, walking faster and faster. Ethan had evolved. Gone was the blunt, cold man he used to be. Now he was a cold man who said weird, sappy things. He kept spouting these cringy, uncomfortable lines out of nowhere. Ethan was already enough of a hassle. I didn't expect Jasper to add to the chaos. One night after the show, he walked up to me out of the blue and said, Julian, I like you. I nearly dropped my phone. I've felt this way since I first read your script. The way you write it makes me think you deserve someone who'll treat you right. I hesitated. Jasper. He cut me off with a small smile. Don't say no yet. Think about it first. Okay. Before I could answer, he walked away. I stood there for a long time, sighed, and looked up, and there was Ethan. He was leaning against the wall. No telling how long he'd been there. He reeked of alcohol. I frowned. As a doctor always on call. He almost never drank. Did you say yes? He asked like he was genuinely curious. I couldn't hear clearly. He stared at the ground for 2 seconds, then lifted his head again. He seems like he'd take good care of you. Knows how to love someone. You'd probably like him, I said. Yeah, probably. He froze, then forced out. But I'm learning too. Learning how to love someone. I didn't want to hear any more of his weird lines. I started to walk past him. But he grabbed my arm. That's when I noticed he was pressing one hand to his stomach. Julian, I don't feel good. I went still for a beat, then pulled away. Go see a doctor. I can't help you. He looked lost for a second. A kind of pain in his eyes I'd never seen before. His fingers curled tighter against his stomach. But I didn't stay to look. I walked away. The next afternoon, I got a call from one of his colleagues at the hospital. Ethan had surgery for gastritis last night. He's still unconscious. And he keeps saying your name. Would you come in? I said, flat and emotionless. He's a doctor at your hospital. You guys handle it. The man paused. Surprised. Didn't he tell you? He resigned a long time ago. What? I don't know all the details. But I think he went back to work for his family's business. Late autumn wind blew in through the window, making the pages of the script on my desk flutter loudly. The voice kept talking. His stomach's always been bad. He's been in the hospital a lot lately. We told him to stop drinking. But when you're in business, you can't avoid banquets. With a company that big, once he takes over, there's no way around it. I couldn't make out the rest. I don't know when I hung up. Ethan's father was a stern, old-fashioned businessman, back when his father told him to study business. He'd switched his college major application. They'd had a huge fight, and he'd never gone home again, never taken a cent from his family. He'd put himself through 4 years of college on scholarships and part-time jobs. He said he was going to be a doctor. No matter what. I sighed slowly. I went to the hospital anyway. I was about to knock when I saw movement inside out of the corner of my eye. Seth was standing by the bed, leaning over, his arms wrapped around Ethan's shoulders. My breath caught. I froze, lips pressed tight, and turned to leave. Then I heard Ethan's voice. Seth, you need to learn to keep your distance from me. When I looked back, Ethan was already pushing him away. We're both adults. You know I'm gay. This kind of thing gives people the wrong idea. Seth froze, then laughed awkwardly. Ethan, did Julian say something to you? What does he have to do with it? Ethan frowned, like it was a ridiculous question. Seth tilted his head, his voice rising with emotion. But I want you to get the wrong idea. I like you. I've always liked you. Ever since we were kids. Why do you think I always come running to you? Every time I'm sick. Every time something happens you think I don't know how to get to a hospital on my own. Ethan blinked, slightly stunned. I'm sorry, I didn't know. If I had, I would have kept my distance a long time ago. Seth's voice cracked. What did you say? I'm in love with someone else. You broke up, Seth cried, bitter and desperate. So what? Ethan said calmly. It doesn't matter. I love him. That's enough, no matter what. I tilted my head back and stared at the ceiling for a long moment. Then I let go of the doorknob and turned to leave. After that, Ethan didn't show up for days. Holden leaned over. Hey. Did Ethan give up? Stop gossiping. It's bad for you. He suddenly went off. Speak of the devil. Ethan appeared in the doorway. His face pale. I was in the hospital the past few days. I couldn't make it to your show. Don't be mad. I don't care if you come or not. He smiled anyway. A thin, strained smile. Right. Of course. Just then, there was a commotion outside. I hurried over. A male audience member was cornering one of our actresses, grabbing at her and demanding her contact info. When she turned him down, he started yelling insults and vulgar things at her. I walked over quickly and stepped between them. Leave. Now. Who the hell are you? He leered at me. Mind your own business. I waved to the side. Security. The man gritted his teeth as I was guiding the actress backward. He grabbed a prop stage light and swung it at me. I closed my eyes on instinct. Crack. A dull, heavy sound. Ethan pulled me tight against his chest, shielding me with his body. Security rushed over and tackled the man. Everything around us was chaos, but Ethan held me tight, never letting go. His face was even paler than before. I spun around in panic and saw his arm hanging limp at his side. Ethan. He patted my back gently. Just a hairline fracture. Probably. Don't be scared. I clenched my jaw. Are you insane? If it had been worse, you could have ruined your hand. Never held a scalpel again. He blinked, then smiled like it was nothing. It's fine. I was furious. I know about you quitting, resigning from the hospital. He froze. I'm sorry. I didn't want you to find out. I didn't know why he was apologizing. And yet, I thought I did. This man who'd always lived by his own rigid code finally plugged into the world around him. I helped him steady himself and said quietly, "Come on, I'll take you to the hospital." We went to the hospital, got x-rays, got his arm bandaged. Half the day went by. He stared at me the whole time, walking right at my side. When we got to the hospital entrance, he lingered like he never wanted to leave, like he'd break his other arm just to stay longer. I sighed. Ethan. He turned to look at me. You're doing really well now. Confusion flickered across his face. I didn't explain. After the national tour ended, Holden threw a wrap party. 3 bottles of champagne. Everyone screamed and ducked when the foam sprayed. I hid in the corner, watching everyone laugh and mess around. Jasper walked over. His eyes were still on the laughing crowd, but he was talking to me. I still need to say it. I like you. I set down my glass. Jasper, thank you. I know. He smiled, easy and unresentful. I figured, there's someone else. Right. But I had to ask. Had to try. He downed the rest of his drink, raised his empty glass to me, and turned back into the crowd. It was almost midnight when the party ended. I saw Holden off to his parents' house. A cold wind blew, carrying tiny white flecks. I blinked and looked up. It was snowing. Then a heavy coat settled over my shoulders. Ethan had walked up behind me without me noticing. He took off his scarf and wrapped it around my neck until half my face was buried in it. Can I walk you home? I held out my hand to catch a snowflake. Okay. We were the only car on the quiet road. Snowflakes tapped softly against the window. The snow's pretty, he said. We were quiet for a little while. People I know have been talking about your show, he said. Said the writing's incredible, that it's gonna win awards. He frowned, his mouth opening and closing like he didn't know what to say. After a minute, he tried again. So, Watching him fumble for conversation made me laugh. He looked bewildered. What? What's funny? Nothing. I looked out at the snow. Just suddenly thought the snow was really pretty. He glanced out the window too, a beat late, and nodded. Ethan, I said suddenly. Yeah, you passed. What? He looked confused. I sighed. Fond and defeated. As your valedictorian, I guess I should give you a graduation present. He just frowned, still confused. I smiled. Let's try again. You and me. He slammed on the brakes. He stared at me, unblinking. What? I smiled a little. You don't want to? Yes. The word burst out of him, twice as loud as his usual voice. There was a beat of silence. I want to. He looked right at me, steady and sure, and said it again. He glanced at the intersection ahead, then turned back to me, careful and tentative. Can we go home? Then. I am going home. I mean, he paused. Our home. Everything's exactly how you left it. I didn't touch a thing. The snow kept falling outside. I've been waiting. The place has been waiting. I buried my face deeper in the scarf. It was warm. Okay, I said. His hand trembled slightly on the wheel. The car started moving again. Snowflakes hit the windshield. The wipers swept them away, and the road ahead glowed bright under the streetlights. Julian, he said, quiet and firm, I'm never letting you go again. Streetlights drifted past, one after another. I said, yeah,